Welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update, hosted by the York Group of Downing Fry Realty. Our show will bring you the most up-to-date information on the local real estate market, presented by leading experts in the field.
Welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update. I'm Morgan York with the York Group of Downing Fry, and today we're joined with our host Jim York and his guest Donald Ross Jr., President and CEO of Ross Title and Escrow.
Thank you, Morgan, for the introduction. Well, we're here today with Don Ross. And Don, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Good to see you.
Hey, let's tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
A local attorney, been an attorney for about 40 years. I'm the attorney for Downing Fry Realty. We've done 20,000 to 30,000 closings roughly. Even more interesting, been counsel for a real estate brokerage firm for 30 years, so I see all the issues from all the agents. We have 8, 9 people working for us. Most of them have been with me for a very long time. And we're located on Vanderbilt at the Galleria, 8950 Fontana del Sol Way, in the heart of Realtor land.
Yep, it's a convenient location.
We have 4 major real estate brokerage companies right there. Beautiful area. Can't wait to visit all the restaurants.
Yep. So Don, the topic of today in our show, you know, the developers are building homes and prices are going up, and we're taking contracts, and they're putting escalation pricing into the contracts, which I wanted you to explain to the buyers that are coming down here. You know, what you're seeing, and what's the pitfalls up and down of that. And you know, I know we've done something with our regular contracts too. So.
I started seeing this probably 6 months ago. I have friends who own, say, HVAC air conditioning companies, and because of the border restrictions and getting, you know, how long you had to quarantine before you brought in, say, air conditioners, they started stockpiling equipment in their warehouses, which they never did. Inventory control is a critical part of any major business like the air conditioning business. So I saw at that point that it was really odd for them to buy all this expensive equipment for projects they don't have yet, customers that don't exist yet. Then we started seeing escalation clauses for the standard Naples Board of Realtors contract, and for a quick and dirty description and escalation clauses when you're making an offer. Let's say you're offering $100,000, you have an addendum to it that says, and we'll beat any other offer made by $2,000 up to a maximum of Y, and you plug in your number. It might be $10,000, so it might go up from 100,000 to 102 or 104 or 106 or 108 to a maximum of 10, because there were buyers who felt they were missing out. And that's done up and down the East Coast. I know that for a fact, because I've written about this, and I frankly stole the clause from my son number 3, who's an attorney in Georgia. And he said, "Christian, send me a clause." And he sent me a clause. I've seen it in St. Petersburg. We've used it here in Collier half a dozen times. It kind of befuddles me a little bit, but you know, buyers like to use them. Whether sellers actually make decisions based on those, it's a factor. It's probably a factor. There's other factors as well. It helps somewhat, but it's no sure guarantee that, as you know, the highest offer doesn't always win.
No, it doesn't.
There are other factors that sellers look at, and it always upsets the realtor when their highest offer doesn't win. They feel like there's been subterfuge going on, but that's not always, not really the case in most cases.
And I always try and meet with the seller, you know, put it out on right there on their kitchen table and go over it one by one, because it's, you know, some people just skim it, but you know, there's, like you said, you know, and it's not always the price. Is it cash, or
it's
is
the
it
personalities,
the closing, what kind of people they are, or you know the other agent, you know, or I mean, there's a lot of moving parts there.
Well, and with the buyers too, I just think it has less of an impact. And I've talked to some buyers, and it might be a very expensive piece of real estate, and they want to throw in an escalation clause. Let's say some $1 million.
Right.
And they want to throw in a $25,000 escalation, which it'll go up to no more than $25,000 more. I inevitably tell them, my advice is just offer the $1,025,000.
Yep.
You're in Naples. This is a different world. This won't, and I'll use phrases like, this won't decorate one room in this condo.
Right, exactly.
Putting it in perspective, if you really want it, if you really love the place, which has a certain intangible value, I mean, if this is going to be home,
Right.
How do you put a price, especially something $1 million and a $25,000 escalation clause? Would you buy some other place to make your home for just to save $25,000 if you're spending that $1 million? I seriously doubt it.
Right.
I go wherever my wife would be happy. That's kind of the, to me it's like, and I'll have the conversations with the buyers and tell them my general philosophy is like I just bought my wife a piece of jewelry. It's a present. Is it practical? No. Does she deserve it? Oh gosh, yeah, sure. If it'll make her happy, make me happy, then it's worth it. So why do the mini steps? But they're doing it. It's a minimal factor if I had to evaluate it, but it's a factor, and people are using whatever edge they can possibly get. They don't want to feel like they've been left behind because of the money part of it. There are other aspects.
And what are you seeing in developer contracts with escalation, with lumber and everything like that? If they sign a contract with that clause in,
they do.
And let's say if they sign a contract that doesn't have that in, and then can the developer back out of that? Because they're always one-sided, the developer.
The one, I saw one yesterday, and it was if lumber prices, supplies go up more than 5%, then the buyer will be responsible for the amount, over that.
Right.
So it sort of hedges, it locks in that the developer will make a certain amount. The buyer has to participate to some extent in the increased cost of materials. We inevitably have a conversation where I point out that a 2x4, last I heard, was $10. Which my dad was a builder.
Yep.
You were a builder up in New York. The idea of a 2x4 being worth $10 is astounding to me.
That's right.
So just to put it in perspective, if a 2x4 costs that, you can only imagine what all the other components are. But again, these people are end users. They're selling their homes up in, say, Greenwich, Connecticut, or
wherever,
Beacon Hill in Boston. Some very expensive home, and this is where they want to spend the last third of their lives. They love it, and they can afford to buy it, so they don't blink. If people are buying on a margin, if they're just in the beginning of their professional careers, and they have a tight budget, that's a scary thing for a buyer. They could get caught with something they can't afford. But for the seller, it's strictly to make sure that they maintain a certain profit margin. Yep. And yes, I'm starting to see quite a few of those.
And anything else that you're seeing in the contracts that our viewers should be looking out for?
No contingencies. Deposits accompanying the offer, not 3 days after.
Right, exactly. Right.
That's something that we look for. The second deposit being 15 days after the effective date, which is the date the contract's fully signed by both sides with the NABOR contract.
Right.
And I think they both require delivery at this point. So it's 10% company offer, no contingencies, and that means no finance contingency.
That's right.
And a lot of the issues involve people who are still going to get a mortgage. And they use lenders out of state, and the out of state lenders have the same problems that I have, you have, we all have. They're working remotely, but even worse. I mean, the last one, last weekend when I was in Georgia, I had a California lender. My buyer was in the west side of Upper Manhattan, and the realtors were here in Naples, and we're doing a conference call at the baggage claim at the Atlanta airport. And I get more problems because the lender out of state is hard to reach, different time zone. They don't necessarily care what I think, they know I'm not going to send them any business, so they're not going to pick up my phone, they're not going to give me their cell number, they're not going to tell me why there's a problem with the loan process. So I think many buyers just don't fully appreciate why we push local lenders. Not that they're all perfect, but Jim York can get them on the phone.
Yep.
If it's somebody you work with regularly, it's a real edge. Especially in a cash contract where your 10% deposit's at risk.
Jeopardy, yep.
And this gentleman had a rather significant 10% deposit down. And actually he and I had a real heart-to-heart Saturday, last Saturday. He is closing, but boy, did it scare the daylights out of him, his wife. They were buying it for his in-laws. So if possible, and we're not doing this out of self-interest, I don't make 2 cents out of a particular lender, but they know the market better, and I usually have their cell number, you have their cell number.
We can talk to them
We can
all
get
the
it
time.
done.
Yep.
It gets closed.
Don, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thinking of buying or selling a home in Naples, Marco Island, Bonita, or Estero, Florida? Think of the most experienced York Real Estate Group, associated with the #1 brokerage in Southwest Florida, Downing Fry Realty, which produces yearly real estate transactions of over $1 billion. Jim, Michael, and Morgan make up the York Real Estate Group of Downing Fry Realty, with over $275 million in sales transactions, along with offering over 25 combined years' experience in the local market. The Yorks can offer the experience and trust you need in a realtor. Call them today at 239-273-6727 or visit their website at www.naplesyorkrealestate.com.
Looking for a real estate closing agent in Southwest Florida? Ross Title and Escrow has over 25 years experience and has closed over 20,000 residential real estate transactions. Donald Ross Jr., president of Ross Title and Escrow and a practicing attorney in the state of Florida with a degree in taxation, is here to service your needs. Call Mr. Ross or one of our 4 closing agents for a free consultation today.